Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dog or Pass podcast. This for UFC 227. Dillashaw versus Garbrandt 2. Couple title fights, couple rematches on the slate as well. Flyweight title holder and pound for pound GOAT, as some would say. Not me, but maybe Cody Saftic would say that. He's on the card as well, taking on Henry Cejudo. First time Cejudo did not fare so well going up against him. We'll see if the tides can change. But interesting card top to bottom. Before we get to that, let's get to who won last week on the challenges. We've got Dale Grissom. Congratulations. You should be winning some bucks. And Lisa H22. You also won our challenges for free DK bucks last week. People who are not, apparently there's a bit of a holdup on last week's. I don't know if people have actually received it yet. If you have, great. Just ignore this altogether. But the money is coming for the people who won on the winners that we announced last week. So it is coming to you. Just send all complaints to @the PME.
All the nasty complaints to the PME.
Of course, that's what we do around here.
Before we jump into things, Paul, I just want to say really quickly, you mentioned how some people may consider Demetrius Johnson, the GOAT. Perhaps myself included in the mix. You do not. I consider Paul Shaughnessy the pound for pound GOAT. Not only does this guy star in what was formerly the Bookie Beatdown, now currently the Dog or Pass podcast, set up all of the cameras for the show, did all of the audio for the show, and on the very rare occurrence that it's only Paul Shaughnessy and myself in the studio, drumroll please, Paul switching the show himself. So you pretty much do every single job. You have also created the boards for the show, edit the show, upload the show. High five fucking Paul Shaughnessy. Yeah, so happy to be here, buddy.
There's a misconception that all I do around these parts is...
hardest working guy, you, 100%. 100%.
I don't know how.
Perhaps not.
I don't know how I'm going to make weight this week with you hanging off my nuts. I'll tell you that much.
You weren't going to make weight. Actually, with the keto diet, I am not so sure. But let's get into the action, buddy.
Well, quickly for this week's challenge, we decided just before we got on the line here that we're going to do highest scorer on the slate. So tell us the highest scorer on the slate in the draft or in the YouTube comment section. Add your DK handle so you can win some bucks. And number 2 is the iTunes review contest. Go on to the Pat Mayo Experience and comment Cody on his hat, maybe. Give us a 5-star review. He's got a nice hat.
Thanks.
He's got a nice hat this week.
Thank you.
All right, do whatever you want to do.
Just make a positive review on iTunes and get a chance to win some DK bucks.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into the action here. We got TJ Dillashaw taking on Cody Garbrandt. Second time these two guys have thrown it down. TJ Dillashaw is 8,200 on DraftKings and -115 favorite. Garbrandt 8,000 and -105. You look at this first fight between the two of them, and honestly, man, I know some people feel really strongly. I've seen a lot of people really strong about TJ, but just like, dude, that fight is what fight variance is all about. If Cody Garbrandt a minute earlier in that first round knocks him down, who knows how that fight ends?
Fair.
Right? He knocks him down. TJ is stumbling. He looks like Bambi out there. He's all over the place. But he had the minute, and good on him. He was able to refresh, recharge, get his mind at least good enough back to him that he was able to get it done. But it's a pick'em. It's a pick'em for a reason, and I can't really fault anybody for feeling strong about either side. And I can't fault people for seeing what happened the first time and be like, well, he knocked him out the first time, he's going to knock him out the second time. It's like, it's not how it works when you have top flight guys like this. I will say, this is a fight. And last week it was a similar example. I went into the main event with Alvarez and Poirier. I had 65% Poirier and 35% Alvarez. So I was actually pretty much sitting pretty going into the main event. I knew that I was going to profit. Everything was good. This week, it's probably a 50-50 split for me. I'm going to, the fight doesn't go the distance is a -300 here. So it's like, and even if it does go the distance, the output that these two guys have, I think he's got a guy on Twitter, MMA by the numbers. He posts these little like infographics and stuff. And TJ averages like, and this is over a 5-year sample. He averages something like 14.5 significant strike attempts per minute. Cody's only at 9.5 or something, but a lot of those are like early finishes and so on and so forth, right?
Metric numbers. You can only take so much from them,
yes,
but they help.
But I'm saying they help out to show what is going to be a high-paced fight and what isn't going to be a high-paced fight. And these two guys, even if they do go to the decision, I have a hard time seeing the winner not scoring over 82 points. That's just facts are facts. So I don't know if you have like a real hot take on who's going to win this one, or you feel really strongly about one side. But for me, from a DraftKings, like I think they got the line right. This is a coin flip. Like that first fight looked like a coin flip to me. And on DraftKings, I know that the winner of this is going to score real nice. So that's an interesting, that's my impression of this at this point. I'll probably have a 50-50 split of it. First question, would you stack this fight in cash? And second question, do you have like a outright winner that you're leaning to?
Yeah, would I stack it in cash? I think when you consider both of them have a really good price tag associated, that one of them, the winner of this fight, likely lands themselves on the winning lineup as well. Because if TJ Dillashaw is going to win this fight, he's either going to score a lot of points and significant strikes and get the finish. And if Cody Garbrandt wins this fight, again, he can get that early finish and score a lot of points. Would I stack it on a cash game? Yeah, I think I would definitely have some teams that stack it. Do I have an outright winner for it? I think I'm going to go with TJ Dillashaw. I think that the fact that they're rematching, TJ Dillashaw won the first encounter really not all that long ago either, and you're getting minus 115 on the champ, I have to go with that. The 8,200 in DraftKings, again, I have to go with that. I was a Cody Garbrandt fan. The first couple of fights, obviously, I'm behind this guy, and then he kind of turned out to be like one of those jock bro guys, not really my kind of guy. Not that I don't support him, it is what it is, but not exactly my favorite fighter. I'm looking at this fight purely on the standpoint that Cody Garbrandt's got two advantages in that he's a little quicker with his hand speed and he's got more power with his hand speed, but the rest of it goes towards TJ Dillashaw. I think he's faster, I think he's more mobile, he's got better footwork, he's got better kicks. I do believe he's a better wrestler. I think he's probably better at jiu-jitsu, if that was to be an aspect of this fight, which it's likely not going to come down to a grappling match, so let's just throw that out. But the wrestling certainly holds some water in a fight like this, and I think that that's going to be his advantage. When you look at the first encounter, right, we all look at the fact that this is the second fight, but really that first fight looked like it was the second encounter because both guys had trained so much with each other in the past. Both guys had already felt each other in the training room that basically it was coming down to, okay, I know this guy's style already. And when you look at that training footage and you look at the fact that Cody Garbrandt was talking about, I've knocked this guy out before, you see the way he drops TJ Dillashaw on that sparring footage. It's TJ getting a little over aggressive, extending in the pocket, eating the right hand, he goes down. That's the one shot. In the video, TJ is not knocked out. He's still with it. He gets up. We never know what ended up happening that day. When you watch the first fight, it's the same thing. It looks pretty even in the first round. I mean, TJ's really not committing to any of his strikes, but it's the first round of a 5-round fight. So maybe he's still trying to get some of the analytics. He's not trying to get over aggressive. He hears the 10-second clapper. I think that's when he gets a little over aggressive and eats the exact same right-handed counter. That puts him on wobbly legs. But again, he's not knocked out. He's just temporarily wobbled. The guy's only 32 years old, which is getting a little bit older for a high-end bantamweight prize fighter, but at the same time, like, he's in the prime of his career. He's going to recover very quickly. In that second round, now that both guys know each other, now that both guys have a better idea of the range, I feel like TJ starts to pick him apart. This rematch is no different. I think he's going to come out there. The first round might be, a slower pace because he realizes the power that Garbrandt has, but eventually he's going to find the holes, man. He's got the better coaching. When you consider he's got Dwayne Ludwig that's going to be there, that's going to be able to analyze on the fly the holes that are happening in Cody Garbrandt's game, and they're going to try to exploit those. Meanwhile, you guys got all these guys at Team Alpha Male. None of them are the striking caliber that they're going to be able to decipher what it is, the fuck that TJ Dillashaw is doing out there with the stance switches, with the level changes. They have an idea of what he did because they all studied the Bang Muay Thai system, but they don't have it to like this level. They have like level 2 shit compared to level 5, level 6 stuff. TJ Dillashaw has really, flourished. And so now when I look at it on paper and I think TJ Dillashaw is the better fighter, he has won the first fight. Now I'm going to have to dig a little bit into the greasiness of the fight. What are the X factors I might be missing? And one thing that I'm really looking at is the fact that Cody Garbrandt has a bad back. He's always had a bad back.
He had a bad back in that last fight.
Yes, he had a bad back in the last fight. He pulled out of the first match with a bad back. Obviously, that whole controversy with him and Danny Castillo wrestling around after he had pulled out of the fight with the bad back. But apparently, he's been getting it treated for a long time. Maybe around a 10-year mark, he's been getting his back treated. He has a bad back. You hear the guy now talk about money a lot, about how I just had a kid, I just got married, I gotta get paid. He wants this rematch, but as soon as the fight happened, who was talking about a rematch? The fans weren't talking about a rematch. I just watched Cody Garbrandt get knocked out in the second round. TJ Dillashaw's definitely not talking about a rematch. What does he got to prove? I just knocked this guy out in the second round.
You know what I will say to you, Cody?
Garbrandt.
You finish first.
Garbrandt's looking for the rematch. Garbrandt's looking for the big fight. So this fight gets booked not all that soon after the first encounter. I don't think there was enough time for Cody to go into the gym and change the entire game plan, change his entire fight style. He's going to be the exact same Cody Garbrandt coming into this fight. And then you deal with the fact that he had to deal with the concussion after the first encounter. He had to deal with a little bit of time off. He comes into this fight having a brand new baby, having just gotten married, needing that big payday. He tries to take the biggest fight possible, which is the TJ Dillashaw rematch, without a doubt. And I just think it's a little too soon for him. He's only 26. He's going to be around for a long time to come. TJ is 5 years older than him. TJ will have his time and he'll move on. Cody Garbrandt will be the champ again someday. But challenging for the title right away or in a small time window afterwards, don't think it's a good idea. I think TJ gets the win. I'm playing him on DK 8,200. I'm playing him the minus 115 on the money line. Considering this card is not a card I love a whole lot of plays on, I'm not going to go as far as to say I love TJ Dillashaw, but I'm on TJ Dillashaw here. I think he gets the win.
You know who just started their own gym?
Dillashaw?
Yeah.
Okay, let me counter with that.
Because no, I'm just saying, historically, that's always something that always bothers you about fighters. When they start their own gym, and there's a whole bunch of things, the focus isn't there. I know that Dwayne Ludwig has came up, and he's visiting. He's moved his camp up to TJ because he's a star pupil for this. So it's not like they're separated or anything. He's got all the same training partners that he usually does for all of his other fights. But there's a little bit of extra business on the side there, Cody, and you know how this goes with fighters.
No, I hear you. But you just open up a business, and maybe down the road, maybe that's a distraction, or maybe who knows what the case is. But as far as this camp goes, he's done it at what used to be the Rain Training Center in California. Dwayne Ludwig's come down, and he's done this full camp with Cub Swanson. And Marlon Vera just jumped on the card a little bit late, but he's also joined the team out there. He's surrounding himself with just the proper sparring partners. If you watch any of the Countdown show and you just see his strength and conditioning coach, this guy's a lunatic. This guy is physically, he is insane.
But he's got him doing some crazy shit.
He's got him doing some crazy shit. And then when you see stuff on Cody Garbrandt, it's just doing the same shit he did getting ready for the last fight. Just, and now he's got the baby on his plate, and now he's trying to rehab the back still. He's trying to do all these different things. Whereas you really get the sense that Dillashaw has looked better in every fight since the Dominic Cruz fight, and you can arguably claim that he won the Dominic Cruz fight, but he's looked increasingly better since then. And I'm not overly worried. I think he's the best version of himself right now, and Garbrandt's still got a couple years to mature and come into his own if he can keep his head on his shoulders.
I will say a little closing remark before we move on to the next fight.
You say it's a 50-50, but what's your actual pick? I get the impression you're Garbrandt. My
actual pick is TJ.
Okay.
Just the fact that I think he is more well-rounded. I think he's got the wrestling advantage. His BJJ is a little bit more developed, whereas Garbrandt is a little bit more one-dimensional. It's mostly strike. I know he's got a good wrestling background, but we don't see
Stuff
it.
to take
we don't see it, and I don't think that's
box.
really an option against TJ in this fight. So, and I can't 100% guarantee that TJ couldn't out-wrestle Garbrandt. So that's where I would lean, gun to my head, but I think it's a pick-em, man. Yeah. We saw the first fight, and it was everything. It was so chaotic that we know those types of fights, they can go multiple different ways.
He got dropped in the first fight.
Exactly.
And like you said, dropped a minute earlier and you're on rubbery
you're
legs
getting pounded out.
Different story. So I hear you. It's a dangerous fight.
100%. Let's move on. We got Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson taking on Henry Cejudo. Demetrius Johnson is 9,400 on DraftKings, most expensive guy in the card, minus 500 by the betting line. Cejudo 6,800 plus 400. What can you say about this? First time these guys fought. Not a great day for Henry Cejudo. He came in, everyone's like, oh, what's DJ gonna do without his wrestling? Not gonna be able to wrestle. It's just he just throws a couple knees to your body and you melt. I see some people just like thinking about going in against Demetrius Johnson. And hey, I've seen arguments out there of, well, people said that Ronda wasn't going to fall and she fell.
No, everybody falls eventually, and that's a valid argument.
JJ wasn't going to fall. Yeah. I'm not, the thing about Demetrius is he's just so good everywhere. He's like, if he can take advantage of you in the wrestling department, grappling, whatever, he'll do it there.
If he can't, he'll strike with you.
He's
if
probably
he can't do that,
not going to wrestle.
He's
not going to wrestle with Henry Cejudo until
he'll have to counter wrestle.
He won't do it until probably late into the fight. Sure. Right? Like, he's not going to he won't go for any offensive takedowns against Henry Cejudo until he feels like, and he's very good at knowing what to do in the moment, that Cejudo's pretty tired and he thinks he can probably control him down there at that point. And that doesn't even necessarily happen. Maybe Cejudo's been able to go 3 rounds and look pretty good, especially against Joseph Benavidez.
Looked okay.
Was able to go.
He may have won that fight.
He didn't slow down all that much.
You're
is
right.
all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
His gas may actually be good enough to go the full 5 rounds, but at DJ's pace, it's really hard. Talk me off the ledge, because on DraftKings here, man, you look at Demetrius Johnson's scoring. And it's just like, sometimes he scores like some fights, and this is when he gets the wrestling involved.
Yeah,
that he scored like 173, 161, that type of thing. I don't think he's going to do that here. His last fight that was like arguable whether you should roster him in this fight was against John Dodson, a guy that was a little bit too fast and he wasn't able to take down. He got 94 points there. He's $9,400. So basically, he still kind of pays off his price tag there. How do you not just take 100% DJ?
Well, I think the reason that you would talk yourself off the ledge of it is that if you look at all of his prior performances, he takes down his opponent. The only time he didn't take down one of his opponents was the last time he fought Henry Cejudo, in which he gave up one takedown to Cejudo, got back up. But, your theory that is maybe if he takes him into the deeper waters and he scores some takedowns, he'll get some points there. But I think when you look at all these other opponents, whether it's Kyoji Horiguchi, I think he took down 12 times. When you look at either Wilson Hayes, he's taking you down, he's beating you up, and then he's getting that finish. With Ray Borg, it's like, I'm beating you standing, I'm beating you in the grappling transitions, and I'm submitting you right at the end. That's going to score him huge. But against Henry Cejudo, you get the impression that the only way it's going to be a low-scoring fight is the wrestling's right off the table. So now we've got 2 guys that are pretty much grappler by nature. Mm-hmm. We're going to stand here, and they're going to throw strikes. And 125 pounds, and who knows? It's going to be a striking battle.
5 rounds, though.
It's 5 rounds. You got 5 rounds to deal with. The $9,400, that's huge. I mean, why not just take the punt on Henry Cejudo and think if it goes 5 rounds and it's going to be a striking battle the entire time? And hell, he'll probably...
If it goes 5 rounds. I don't believe in Cejudo, man.
Hold up.
He's had this little, like, quitter mentality along the way. He's got that little...
Has he not fixed it since,
I don't believe it.
Do you not look at his recent performances and think he kind of does look like a man on a mission?
He does look better.
He does look better. Even the Joseph Benavidez fight where he lost, it's like, dude, this guy's a legitimate...
He always makes excuses.
Always makes excuses.
It's his little...
Always, that's his thing.
Have you been watching the countdown and all that?
Yeah.
It's that little laugh that he got, that he has.
Whatever. Are you going to bet against him based on a little laugh?
I'm not going to... I think I just would never bet against Demetrius Johnson, man.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a chink in the armor at all.
Fair.
At all.
Well, I think that's the reason why he's a 5-1 favorite here against the number 2 contender in the world.
This guy.
He's already smashed this guy. In fact, I had not that I thought that he was going to lose the first time around, but I talked up Sarah McMahon a lot before she came to the UFC. Like, yo, this chick's a badass Olympic silver medalist. She's going to do so good against Ronda. Everyone's got Ronda on this pedestal. Like, yo, Sarah McMahon will at the very least show you something. She'll impress you. And she just crumpled in the first round with this knee to the body. Super embarrassing. So when Cejudo gets his first fight with Demetrius, I'm like, hey, guy's Olympic gold medalist, youngest American to ever win a freestyle gold medal at the Olympics. This guy might not beat Demetrius, but he's going to show him something. He got crumpled with the first round knee to the body. I was like, what the fuck is going on here with these Olympic wrestlers getting folded with the knees of the body? I don't expect this one to go the exact same way that the first fight went, because you got Henry Cejudo that's learned a lot since then, whereas Demetrius Johnson has gotten better, but he's also idle. Like, the problem with being on a pedestal, the problem with being one of the pound for pound best guys in the world is, like, you lose your motivation a little bit, man. I mean, life gets in the way. You don't have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go for those 6-kilometer runs because, or a 5-mile run, depending on where exactly you live and what system of equations you're using. But all the same, I just feel like Henry Cejudo is a guy that's experienced Olympic gold medal. This guy wants a UFC gold. He's going for it hard. He's training hard. He wants this very much. Demetrius Johnson, he's got the family. He's got the longest record for consecutive title defenses. He's been around for a long time. He's been to the highest part of the mountain. He's vanquished all competitors. At some point, you fall. Nobody thought Anderson Silva was going to lose, but eventually he got caught and he went down. This is prize fighting. This is not, oh, I'm so much better than you. I beat you 10 times. This is, I'm so much better than you. If we fought 10 times, I would probably get clipped at some point and go down. So he's going to have to falter at some point. And Henry Cejudo is a credible title challenger, given that he could get more takedowns if this is a prolonged period of time. We saw from the first fight, he can get the takedown. It's whether can he get the takedown for 25 minutes. But it seems like he's put in the work and he's ready to go to war here. I got to take Demetrius Johnson because, yes, he's the proven competitor. He's a proven champion. And I am one of those people that do classify him in the category of pound for pound GOAT. I think he has really proven that. But everybody, the stop comes to an end for everybody eventually. They're both 31, so I'm not saying he's over the hill by no stretch. But this is at least a good, credible fight for him. Even though we've already seen it, I think Cejudo will be a little bit better. The way I see this particular fight playing out is wrestling doesn't really play a factor. So Cejudo tries to get the early ones. Once he realizes that he's working too hard to get takedowns that Johnson essentially just gets back up from anyways, that it'll be a boxing match. And I think that Johnson's a little more diverse. He's got a better kick game. He's a little rangier. He at least uses that speed to create better angles, and that he'll just pick away at him. But for the 9,400 on DraftKings, if it's a 5-round, we've seen Johnson cruise sometimes in fights where it's like, he knows he's winning. He cruises a little bit. He always
scores over 100, man.
Because he's getting takedowns when he cruises. His version of cruising is just get a takedown. But here, if he can't get the takedown, he's not going to exert the energy. His version of cruising might just be backpedal and hit this guy with the jab and just move away. Let Henry Cejudo come at you, play Matador. Then he wouldn't score huge. Whereas Cejudo, if he can make it 5 rounds, even if he loses, like on a cash game, I think if I'm really trying to save some money, that I would play Henry Cejudo in a cash game punt. Even though he's not a great cash game play, the price, I'd be willing to take a shot on it. As far as the actual pick itself goes, yeah, I'm going to take Demetrius Johnson. I think he gets the job done. And at 5-1, why not? I'll take a little sprinkle on the money line and put him on some parlays.
So you're going to fade DJ on DraftKings.
Not a complete fade, but if everybody likes him, you like him, fans at home like him, people that know him like him.
I hope everybody out here listens to the wise words of Cody Saftic and fades Demetrius Johnson on Twitter.
Take Paul, high ownership here, and just give me a low percentage own Henry Cejudo with a good price tag to get enough points to win me a heads up, and I'm cool with that.
We got Renato Moicano taking on a Cub Swanson. Renato Moicano is a minus 410 favorite, 9,100 on DraftKings. Cub Swanson is 7,100 and plus 330. What's your take here?
I almost get the impression that Cub Swanson's done. Maybe he's not all the way done, but you were there at that Doo Ho Choi fight. I was there at that Doo Ho Choi fight. Everybody who considers himself a mixed martial arts fan watched, either live or after the fact on video replay, that fight with Doo Ho Choi. It was crazy. That, to me, was his last hurrah. That was like everything left in a man that you could put on the line. It was a crazy fight. And Cub Swanson was the guy that had crazy fights prior to that night. But he was a guy that was kind of on the back nine. He's always wanted the title shot, but it's always eluded him. Because when the big fight comes around knocking for Cub Swanson, he came up short. He was super entertaining. He beat a lot of guys that, by today's standards, would be viewed as, mid-card journeymen. But he was in a lot of exciting fights. That Doo Ho Choi is the pinnacle of this guy's career. Now, after that fight, he wants the title fight, but do we give Cub Swanson the title fight? No. Let's give him a stay busy with Artem Lobov. Takes the stay busy. Doesn't look great in that fight, but gets the win. Who fights Artem Lobov getting ready to potentially challenge for a title? It's a weird stay busy fight to take. And then since then, I think you really see this is Cub Swanson with a lot of mileage on him. He's left Jackson Winklejohn for this camp. He's trying to get new looks. He's working a lot more on his athleticism and his movement, which is fine. But when I physically watch him fight now, Paul, he pulls back at his punches a little bit. Like Cub Swanson back in the day, he's guts and glory. He's willing to go at you. He's willing to take a punch to give a punch. But somewhere around the line, like he's got his bell rung many of times. He's been hurt many of times. And now you see this guy get into rhythms where he just gets picked apart at range. I don't agree with the line here. I think giving a minus 410, a 4-1 favorite for Renato Moicano, very disrespectful because Cub Swanson is a savvy veteran. He's a guy that's a very tricky fighter to prepare for, but I just feel like Moicano was one of those on his way up, getting a little bit better every time, has shown us something, impressed me in his last fight with Calvin Kattar, looked good against Brian Ortega prior to losing in the third round, has steadily beat Jeremy Stevens obviously, but has steadily looked a little bit better, younger guy moving up the ranks. He's actually your boy originally. You called him over Zubair Tuhugov. I thought you were crazy. But you saw something there. Yeah, you saw something there in this young prospect. Very unproven. Had one fight, beat Tom Nitamaki. One fight, but the jiu-jitsu's there. The striking, he lacks a little bit of power, but he looked better against Calvin Kattar. But I mean, he's the guy that's
good all-around martial artist.
Yeah, and he's just built to intercept and defeat a guy like Cub Swanson, who, if he tries to close the distance, is just going to get stuffed up with the jab, and if he stays on the outside, he's just going to get outpointed. The punches that Cub lands will be winging, and they'll go off the side of the arm, they'll go off of the shoulder, they'll hit you in the side of the head, they'll look flashy, but ultimately Moicano will have more substance. He'll pick this guy apart, he'll get the win. I'm very nervous on the 410, so it could very well just be a pass as far as the money line goes. The $9,100 on DraftKings, like, Cub's a durable guy. He'll take the beating, but he'll be there to take the beating. If the fight goes to the ground, I don't think he's just going to get up right away. It'll be a lot of Moicano holding him down and not scoring a whole lot. So the 9,100, it's scary, but I think Moicano gets the victory. I can see rostering him a little bit, but again, he's a little bit expensive. I think I'll go in different options. Yeah,
on DraftKings, like, one thing I always try to pay attention to this, but by decision, or this fight to go to decision is minus 245. For it to not go to decision is plus 175. So the odds are telling you that this fight is probably going to 3 rounds. And at 9,100, if I'm going to be spending up for DJ, I'm obviously not spending up for Renato Moicano. Yeah. So I basically kind of agree with just about everything that you said there. It looks like Cubs at the end of the line. They gave him that extra contract because they just like him. He's very well liked within the UFC's like head office type of thing.
I hear you. But a quick story there, because it was a bad move. Cubs signed a nice big juicy contract, right? And as a result, they like him, and they gave him a nice contract. But they have done him no favors.
Now they're using him as a stepping stone for the other up-and-comers in the division.
If we're going to pay you this kind of money, you're going to earn this kind of money by being that stepping stone. Now, the quick story is, you might remember it, but Joe Lozon, his contract had expired, and the UFC offered him a new one. And Joe told him, I will take less money, but I have a say on who I fight. Because I don't want to fight those guys. So the money is not that important to me. I'll bonus hunt against some lesser talent, and I'm okay with that. Cub took the big money, and as a result, his last 2 fights, they come out looking like mismatches. He's almost non-competitive. He's non-competitive against Frankie. It's just, he's not looking very good. And Moicano is just represents almost the same thing. This kid almost beat a guy that's currently about to fight for a title and is on everybody's list as a very exciting up-and-comer. Like, Moicano is in that mix. He has looked good. He's looked good from the start. You saw it from the start, and he's maturing now as an athlete. He should get the win. But prices are finicky because they make you second-guess yourself sometimes. So that's the only thing here is I don't love the price.
We have Polyana Viana taking on JJ Aldrich, your girl.
Yeah, my baby.
Viana is 8,900 on DraftKings and a minus 270 favorite. Aldrich, 7,300 and plus 230. Who you got?
Yeah, Aldrich is serviceable. You give her fights that are going to be stand-up battles, and there's a lot of good matchups for her in this division, but this ain't one of them. Like, where she does struggle is against big, grimy, power, either wrestlers or just people that want to grapple with her, that are strong and physical. JJ Aldrich, definitely a stand-up fighter. She's had a long lineage of, traditional martial arts growing up. She's got good striking output, lacks a little bit of power, but again, her diversity striking, she's got the goods. This is just not one of those fights where I think Polyana Viana is going to give her a whole lot of room to work. I think she's going to try to smother her up. I think she's going to try to take her down, similar to a Juliana Lima type game plan. It might not be overly exciting, but the takedowns will be there. She will get her down. Aldrich has also spent a lot of time training with, Rose Namajunas. I think that's how she kind of got into the limelight. Obviously, she's on The Ultimate Fighter, but spending a lot of time as Rose's chief sparring partner, she got a little bit of notoriety to her. And as a result, I think she's crafty, and I think she's very durable. I don't think she gets caught here. I think Viana goes through the motions of taking her down, grinding her, getting that victory. For the 8,900, not willing to play that. For the minus 270, also don't love it. But to be honest, it's a styles make fights type situation here. And stylistically, she has what it takes to beat JJ Aldrich. It's just what it is. So am I cheering for JJ Aldrich deep down? Yeah, of course. But do I think JJ Aldrich gets a victory here? Gonna be tough. You're gonna have to tire this girl out. You're gonna have to keep the fight standing. You're gonna have to use your movement to just stay on the outside. But staying on the outside is probably gonna get you pinned up against the cage, and she's not particularly great with her back against the cage. So give me Viana, and mostly a pass in terms of the money line and the DraftKings value.
Interestingly enough, for this fight to get finished inside the distance, it is plus 115.
Inside the distance.
Yeah.
Plus 1.
Minus 155 to go to decision. So of all like the women's fights on this, it's like by far the fight with the highest chance. I guess they saw the first fight by Viana against
and she
Joe Stevenson.
Smokes her in the
But that was in Brazil against Maya Stevenson. That I don't really think very highly of her. I don't think she actually belongs on this level. I think Aldrich is tougher. So I guess that's why it's almost, she's got like a 40% chance, essentially what they're saying, by the odds of finishing this fight inside the distance.
Yeah, I see going the distance because, again, Aldrich has actually fought probably the better level of competition, and she's not really that bad off her back. And one thing that could persuade a guy like Paul Shaughnessy is that, she went to 3 rounds of Juliana Lima off her back the entire time. But whatever, it's Lima. But Paul, this girl's out in The Ultimate Fighter. She survived 8.5 minutes on the ground with Tatiana Suarez. 8.5 minutes on the ground with Tatiana Suarez is 15 minutes with Viana all day.
Yeah,
all day. So I'll take that over. Or I'll take the fight goes the distance for that.
Fight goes the distance, and then maybe you kind of avoid the fact that you just kind of avoid that odds value in terms of the inside the distance types of props there.
Yeah, because
it's tough. It's tough here because there are a lot of good options above 8,000 that you're looking at. So you're going to have to, whittle down your core somewhere. So getting rid of, Xing Viana off the list may be scary, but maybe something you got to do.
Could be. If you talk about scary, though, we'll move on. We spent way too much time on this fight already, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, sir.
One thing that, if you're talking about things being scary, is that Viana could be a front runner because she finishes girls very fast. She's very muscular. She's got a good build. She wins her UFC debut in 3.5 minutes. Okay. But if she doesn't finish J.J. Aldrich in the first round or the first 2 rounds, is she going to get completely gassed and not get you that value? Big question mark there. So maybe that's the path to victory for J.J. Survive long enough to get this girl tired. But again, I think that the grappling will get her the victory. So moving on.
Talking about scary.
Scary. Woof. Got the hammer tattooed on his chest.
Thiago Marreta. I believe it's a Marreta on his chest. Santos taking on Kevin Holland. Thiago Santos is 9,200 on DraftKings, minus 390 favorite. Kevin Holland is 7,000 and plus 320. Kevin Holland was on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. And it was what was it, against Mike Santiago, I believe was the name of it. Or was it Mike Santiago?
Mike Santiago.
Was it
Will Santiago?
Will Santiago. Mike Santiago is the featherweight.
Yes. Not off to a great start, but
no. Will Santiago. He took on him, and frankly, it was just like he had all of the advantages. Will Santiago was like 5'7", super short,
cracks, and was out of Jackson's, but that's about it.
And he cracked for sure, but Holland really didn't look like he wasn't all that special. He didn't get the contract, and then all of a sudden, last week's episode of it, they're like, "Oh, by the way, really sorry that Alexander Gustafsson is off of UFC 227. We have a gift for you. We're going to give Thiago Santos, who was getting ready remember when he weighed in for
he was going to get ready to
versus
fight.
Tavares.
Exactly.
So he was already ready, primed, and then he's probably just like, well, you guys paid me to make weight, but I want to get paid for that weight making money, and then give me another paycheck, I would imagine.
I would look at it like I put in a 6-week camp. Yeah. Brad Tavares is about 4 weeks out when everyone thought he was hurt, but no, either way, it might have been 6 weeks. I just put in a 6-week camp. I'm ready to go. I weighed in. I'm good to go. I'll fight next week. It's like, you are in good shape. Can you fight in a couple more weeks? It's like, yeah, I can. Okay.
We've got just the pillow-fisted fighter for you here.
And it looks like it's a short notice matchup. They're both short notice. No, one guy just did a full camp. The other guy is legitimately short notice.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's Santos smash, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's
like all day. And I think you need a healthy serving of Santos here. He's got the best. This fight has the best inside the distance prop, because you know what, Santos either ices you really early on, or maybe he starts to get tired. But
no, he'll himself get iced fairly early on if he doesn't ice you.
I don't see anything from Kevin Holland in terms of like what I've watched on tape that would lead me to believe that this guy's got any power in his hands. Like I remember when we were getting ready for Jeffrey Neal, Kevin Holland had fought Jeffrey Neal.
Yeah.
And
Kevin Holland's been around a long time, actually.
Yeah. He is able to take some decent punishment. That's what we learned from that Jeffrey Neal fight, I remember, because then I actually questioned Jeffrey Neal's power coming into that next one, which hurt me at the DK in the DK lineups.
That guy has some wicked power, man.
It's Santos. One thing that is funny is that Santos is minus 390 favorite, and the inside the distance for the fight to go inside the distance is minus 380. So it's like,
might as well just take
you might as well just take the fight doesn't go the distance prop.
Yeah, that would be way
in
better.
In that situation, you get an extra 10 points, and it's like, let's face it, like, Santos, if he's winning, he's probably killing him in the first or second round.
No, I think that's the book on Santos. If this is a high-profile fight or like a somewhat, contender-type fight, I don't bet Santos, dude. No. He is untrustworthy.
Yep.
I learned my lesson when he lost to Eric Spicely in Brazil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since then, it's like, dude, he either kills you or you find... It doesn't look like he's got a whole lot of chinks in his armor, but they're there, dude. His ground game's not all that good. He is a chinny motherfucker, to be quite honest. But yeah, no.
Massive.
He's a massive dude, and that's one disadvantage that Holland will have. Holland is a massive dude. Not necessarily thickness, but very, very, very tall. So when he fights a lot of these guys like Will Santiago, they can't close that distance on him. He's got a funky style, man. Like, he was throwing karate chops in that fight with Santiago. He was it looked like he was almost playing with his food, keeping him at distance, using those kicks. But really, he just doesn't crack a whole lot. He doesn't got a whole lot of power in those shots. So he'll usually just wait for you to try to close the distance and then just hit you. But he's got a lot of winging stuff. If you stand in front of him and he takes charge, it's a lot of, as Robin Black would say, flim-flam. It's just bullshit. It's water gun type strikes, keep you at bay. And occasionally when he does sit down on a punch and throw something, it just doesn't look like it's got all that much power. So if we're talking power here, you gotta go Santos. If we're looking for the fact that Santos basically coming off a camp and his opponent is not, well then that's an issue. Kevin Holland, we don't know what kind of shape he's in. He's got to make weight for this fight. He is a tall guy. I don't know how easy 185 is. All the same, that's another advantage that's going to go for Santos. One thing that I think, actually, I'll say this really quickly first. When Santos fights, like Holland, we're classifying him as a mid-range to lower mid-range guy. When Santos fights mid-range to lower mid-range guys, doesn't he hold the record for like most knockouts at middleweight? Like, he has dusted the likes of Andy Enns, Steve Bosse, Nate Marquardt, Jack Marshman, Gerald Mearshart, Jack Hermanson, and impressively enough, Anthony Smith. All of those guys probably better than Kevin Holland. Mm-hmm. And so they're all getting knocked out by this guy. Chances are Kevin Holland...
Some of those guys have decent power too.
Yes. Now, Kevin Holland is decently evasive enough, so maybe he realizes, okay, I didn't get a contract fighting for it. Now I got a contract. Even if I lose this guy, I still got a contract. So I'm just not going to take a whole lot of damage. I'm not necessarily going to win this fight. I'll try to win this fight, but I just don't want to get hurt. And if he's backpedaling and he's the kind of guy that's elusive enough to stay back, who knows? But Santos is a chomping at the bit. Let me get at this guy. Let me rip this guy's head off.
Santos fights every single time are just all action all the time. He's a GPP king. Like, he's a guy that you just have to kind of roster every single week. He's a guy that you roster in these kind of spots. And the last thing I want to say on it, not really greasy theory, just something I think people are overlooking. Imagine you're getting ready for 6 weeks, and you're not getting ready to replace if Adesanya or Brad Tavares, one of them gets hurt. You're getting specifically ready in case Brad Tavares gets hurt because he's got the rumor about the rib injury. So you just spent 6 weeks training for Israel Adesanya. And now you're getting Kevin Holland, who is a poor fucking man's Israel Adesanya, right? Like, no, he's like he's the dumpster bin version of Israel Adesanya.
He is the straight to DVD bin version of Israel Adesanya. Okay, $2.99. Julia Roberts' brothers and Eric Roberts. And that's what you're getting out of it. Like that. So I would think that if he goes in there with whatever game plan he had, he's going to have a good shot. And this is a far, 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 far below step down in what you were preparing for. So give me Santos. And when I look at the price tag at $9,200, only $100 more than Moicano, only a couple hundred more than a girl like Viana, a little cheaper than Demetrius Johnson. Yeah, no, I'm going to roster up some Santos here.
Moving on down the card, we have Pedro Munhoz taking on Brett the Pikey Johns. Pedro Munhoz, 8,800 on DraftKings, minus 270 favorite. Brett Johns, 7,400 plus 230. Who you got?
I feel like when fights start to get close and start to get greasy, Pedro Munhoz doesn't usually end up being the guy that pulls ahead. He just kind of falls into the same rhythm. He doesn't go for that extra little bit. Close fights, I don't think are going his direction. I know he's been super frustrated about that. But again, you're just not really doing enough to go out there and cement the fact that you won this fight. He is awesome on the ground. I think everybody knows that. You give him a split-second opportunity, he will choke you out. He finds your neck all day. As far as his offensive wrestling goes, it's okay. That's obviously not his bread and butter. So he spent a lot of time working on striking. Maybe I rush these guys. Maybe I can just ball them a little bit. He can take a pretty good punch. He tries to get aggressive. It allows guys to counter punch him. But again, he's going to keep the fight close enough. It's just he's getting hit clean more times than he's doing the effective striking, and so he's losing these rounds. I feel like that's kind of what's going to happen here against Brett Johns. I love me some Brett Johns. I see where he's limited. I believe he does all of his camps in Wales. No disrespect to him or his camp. At some point, you're now fighting elite level guys. If you want to beat Aljamain Sterling, you need to fight guys that, move like Aljamain Sterling. You need to prepare with guys that are going to push you in the gym. You can't just be the best guy in the gym. And I think in many ways, Brett Johns is just kind of the best guy in his area. We know he's a judo black belt. We know that as far as him being a judo practitioner in MMA, his wrestling actually looks pretty good. Yeah. Not super technical, but he's a strong guy. He keeps with it. He's a second, third, fourth chance guy that eventually he'll hit you with something to be able to take you to the ground. I'm down with his ground and pound. As far as standing goes, he's super herky-jerky in that he pushes almost all of his punches. He doesn't move super fluidly. You can just tell this guy is not a striker by nature. And the thing here is that I think this is going to end up being a striking battle, and that Munhoz will struggle to take down Johns. Johns probably doesn't want to take down Munhoz. I can see him shooting a couple takedowns just to either win rounds or maybe just keep this guy honest, but I don't see him doing a whole lot of prolonged guard work. So it's a striking battle. And I think Pedro Munhoz is actually the more technical striker, but Johns will just hustle him up and do a little bit more. So I got Johns by decision. The minus 230 again. It's like this price tag.
Plus 230.
Sorry, the plus 230 on Brett Johns.
He's the underdog.
Yeah, I don't know why we have it marked down there as minus, but the underdog is super appealing. Yeah, super appealing to me because Johns either looks spectacular, like he beats Joe Soto, which to me is impressive. Soto, a brown belt, a high-level brown belt, a guy that had competed in a lot of grappling tournaments and had some success. Beating this guy, the calf slicer, it's awesome. The fight with Aljamain, it's like, okay, is this guy as good as people are saying? Is this guy truly a warranted undefeated fighter? Or is he a guy like Aljamain who's been around and seen it all, going to show him something here? And yeah, I know he loses the fight to Sterling, but it looked like, okay, it's not a lost cause. You give this guy some solid training and you let him grow and you get him a little bit older with a better game plan, he could potentially go and defeat top 10 guys. Pedro Munhoz is like always knocking at the door, but that's as far as it gets for him. So I got to go Johns. And this is a card where I've gone, favorite. You need them somewhere. You're not only giving me an underdog here, but like the price is definitely right on him. And Munhoz gets screwed on close decisions. It's kind of something that happens to him. So
close decisions. He doesn't have the best wrestling. Like Johns is one of the guys that I'm targeting as an underdog play on a card that just looks really devoid of really good underdog options across the board. So he is one that I'll have a look at. And it's actually going to come down to one of those things. Like, I don't think he's going to go for the takedown. That's when he scored really, really big in his UFC debut is the takedowns. But like, he doesn't want to go down into that world against Pedro Munhoz. Then he's signing his own death certificate, right?
Yeah, but Munhoz is one of those guys that's a lot better when he's on a guillotine or when he's on like your back, right? If you can get him down without sticking your neck directly in harm's way, it could be a game plan. It
could. All I'm saying is that it's a tough card in terms of finding underdogs that you feel at least good about. And Brett Johns is one of them for me. I'm not impressed by his striking, but I am impressed by like his heart and his grit.
And a hell of a chin on him.
And he's got a hell of a chin. Yeah. So I could see Brett Johns pulling the rabbit out of the hat here. And at 7,400. You need some salary relief somewhere on the card to get it done. We got Ricky Simon taking on Montel Jackson. Ricky Simon, 8,500 on DraftKings, minus 125 favorite. Montel Jackson, 7,700 plus 105. Who you got?
Hard to get a read on both these guys. I mean, Montel Jackson just really haven't seen enough. He looked awesome as far as the regional scene goes. He was on one episode of Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Again, looked very good. Rico DeSolio, I believe he fought. Gets the victory, gets the finish. I think that Montel Jackson looks pretty good. He seems like he has the mechanics properly. He's an athletic guy, moves quickly, seems to have some power. I like him enough. Ricky Simon's already let me down once, and then not his own fault, but fucked me another time, right? We challenged for the Titan FC title, fought Dos Anjos. Terrible performance out of him. Sorry, Dos Santos. Terrible performance out of him. Guess the loss. No big deal. I didn't really like what I saw out of him. He got caught. He got submitted. Fine. Comes to the UFC. Again, don't really like what I see out of him. And then you get dominated for 2 full rounds. And in the third round, you're pretty much getting dominated. And you go for a Hail Mary submission. And you don't even really get it. And they award you the victory. Like, very hard to now get excited for your next fight.
Like, Davashvili was like convulsing on the... Like, I don't know if that was... It looked like he was like...
Convulsing.
It's like when you cut a chicken's head off and it continues to run around. Like, it kind of felt like that's what was happening.
I don't know, man.
I think he was actually done.
You know what irked me about the whole situation?
But it was just weird because he never tapped and he kind of came back. It was a real gray area.
Here's what got me.
I didn't feel great about it either.
Here's the reason why I'm team Gurashvili big time, okay? The fight ends. He's flat on the back. The ref stops it, okay? Buzzer goes. He tries to get back up. His first instinct is get back up. And the ref pushes him back down and says, no, don't move. And then they call it on, this guy's out. He didn't even get back up.
DC theories.
Anyway, so Ricky Simon's not for me. Not for me. I think Montel Jackson's faster than him. I think he's a little more dynamic. I think he's got the better striking. I just, again, don't really love what I've seen out of Ricky Simon. This is a close fight. It's a pick'em. It can go one of two ways.
Yep.
I don't think that there's a whole lot of strong argument for either side. But again, I've seen Ricky Simon in action about 4 or 5 times. Haven't overly been impressive. It looks like on paper like he's got the goods. Young, athletic guy in phenomenal shape. He appears to have some decent striking. This fight will probably be a striking battle, I would assume. And he's obviously got a crafty little submission arsenal. To choke a guy out unconscious, essentially unconscious, 15 minutes into your fight, which was all grappling, and you were probably pretty tired, it means something. It shows something out of him. So he's not a complete write-off, and it's not his fault that situation happened. So I don't hate the guy by no stretch of the imagination. I don't have ill will towards him. This is a close fight. Money line-wise, I'd probably say stay away from it. And as far as the actual fight itself goes on DK, the Montel Jackson 7,700, very intriguing to me, because this guy is a potent finisher. He is fast, and you don't know what you're getting out of him, so it could be a great value play. And at 7,700, I'm willing to find out.
Yeah, Jackson is like the preferred play for me. I don't really want any Simon here at 8,500, but again, we're looking for underdogs with a shot here. And
Simon's
Montel
8,500, but only a minus 125 in the betting line. So
exactly,
the odds value
is huge on Jackson, which will probably make him relatively chalky. I'm going to have to dig in a little bit deeper into this one to see if I really want to get myself too invested in it. But obviously, preferred play right now, Montel Jackson. Let's move on. We got Irene Aldana taking on Bethe Correia. Irene Aldana is 9,000 on DraftKings and a minus 310 favorite. Bethe Correia is 7,200 and plus 255. Line seems a little bit wide, if you ask me.
There's a lot of wide lines in this card.
Seems a little bit too wide to yours truly here. And bet you can never get no respect. That being said, Bet sucks as a DraftKings play. Like unless she's fighting, unless she's beating Shayna Baszler or Jessamine Duke, those are the only 2 times she's ever scored anything reasonable. The one win that she got was a Jessica I, like a split decision. She scored 55 points in a win. So it's like, even if she somehow manages to scrape one by, this is not the type of fight where like you really want to have any of her. But Aldana, I know that she has like a high volume kind of striking game, but she's not the type of person you want either. Like you kind of, on this card, there's lots of other options. 9,000 for Irene Aldana is way too much. If it wasn't Betch at plus 255 in this division, I mean, plus 255 would be the play I would make out of the 2 of these. But I guess Irene Aldana probably wins on volume in a middling entertaining fight, because I just think Betch can take usually a lot of punishment unless you're named Ronda Rousey and you just kind of storm forward and knock her out. And Irina Aldana, yeah, she has good boxing, but I don't see her as a complete potent finisher. What about you?
Yeah, no, definitely going to look to avoid Aldana because, again, on paper, this fight looks like it's right up Aldana's alley. The minus 310, obviously, is very suggestive of that. The $9,000, I mean, she's either going to put on a masterclass performance and piece Betche up here, or she's going to knock her out. Like, I can't really see getting the value out of it otherwise. The takedowns against Betche, I don't think are going to be there. So you're going to get enough significant strikes, especially when you typically go with the boxing as well. I mean, I don't know that she's going to rack enough up just based on significant strikes. And because Betch is so short, she bobs in and out of the pocket. She's not looking to hang out for a prolonged period of time. Or, it's an old cliche saying, but like, all the way out or all the way in. There's no middle ground. She's either all the way out, I'm hanging back here so you can't hit me, or all the way in, this is going to favor her because she's short. She's got a tiny little reach on her. She's got to close up that distance. But, this one's just a fight that is very much a lot of question marks and a very much a stay away fight for me because, like, as sad as it is, I see a path for Betche to get the victory here. But she's untrustworthy. She's untrustworthy, first of all, because we haven't seen her in a little over a year. The last time we did see her, she got blasted by Holly Holm with a kick to the head that definitely, rearrange some things upstairs. But she's also 35 years old. I think that's something that a lot of people don't notice or don't, pay much attention to is that she got into the sport late, man. She was like an accountant or some shit before she decided, I'm going to go to the gym and get some of my aggression out. Hooks up with the Pitbull team, the Pitbull brothers, Patricio and Patricky Freite. So those guys' style mimics her style. In fact, her nickname Pitbull, very suggestive of this is what we do. They're all named Pitbull and they all fight pretty similar. Those guys are ultra talented. She's a late game starter. I got into this late. I'm aggressive, but how far can I take it? And I think when we see her fight her in the UFC, that's what it is. It's like there's a girl with some aggression, some raw potential, but if she was only 25 years old, like, damn, this girl might be good down the road. Like, if she could channel that a little bit better. But 35 years old, like, this is what we're going to get out of her. She's not going to get any better than probably the version that you're seeing out there. But with Aldana can get outworked a little bit. Like, she lost a split decision to Caitlin Chukagian. The significance there is that Chukagian doesn't really commit to the strikes, just tries to do a little bit more than you to outwork you. And essentially, Aldana allowed herself to get outworked. When she fought Leslie Smith, she got definitely outworked and got outstruck by Leslie Smith. And in her last fight, when you take on a Brazilian gackbag who gasses 3 minutes into the round. A gack bag, right?
What's that?
Don't worry about it. The main thing is that she's gassed 3 minutes into the round and Aldana kind of has her way. Like, that's her lone UFC victory. Not overly impressed. Betche's fight against Holm, we'll just look at the last fight for her because it's too much of a body of work to think she looked okay here and bad here and there and terrible here. Let's just look at the last fight. She doesn't look out of place, especially that second round, because she's moving forward on Holly. She's making Holly, fight off her back, which Holly's good at. But pin her up against the cage, be aggressive, try to beat her to that punch, rough her up, so to speak. And in the third round, getting aggressive, she gets kicked in the head. But if that's not on the table with Aldana, do the same game plan, girl.
Yep.
Get up in this girl's face, pin her up against the cage, try to create no space in between you and just work her and just out hustle her. You don't even gotta take her down. Just pin her up against the cage and try to feed her knees to the thigh and try to feed her some punches from the clinch if you can. But there's a path there. The two things with it is, one, it's going to be really boring and ain't going to score shit. So even though she's really cheap.
A lot of cage work, holding someone up against the cage. She doesn't have great wrestling, so it'll just be a lot of just holding her up against the cage.
Yeah.
And none of those strikes, nothing in that type of situation ever scores anything. So like that's what you're kind of running with here. It's not really a great DraftKings play.
She might
really
score,
on either side.
If she wins the fight,
she could score like 45 points, 50 points.
She might score as much in a win that Henry Cejudo would score in a loss.
Yeah.
And he is fucking $400 cheaper than her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no.
But she has a better chance to win.
I'm avoiding it. But again, when you're looking at a card that's a lot of favorites, the dogs, they're actually big dogs. So it almost makes you second guess, like, do I actually want Betch Gahay? It's like, no, I don't. But what I don't want is Irina Aldana. That's something I'm going to stay away from.
The price tag is just too big on her.
Let's
move on down the card. We have Matt Sayles taking on Shayman Moraes. Matt Sayles is 8,300 on DraftKings and a minus 125 favorite. Shayman Moraes is 7,900 and plus 105. Was pretty impressed by Matt Sayles' debut on Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. He trains with like Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, I know.
The guy looks really slick.
Made some serious money
really
on
good,
that fight.
and he's got some power. And he looks very well-rounded, very slick. He does not look like an athlete. Like, if you saw the guy walking down the street, you would probably be like, he just looks kind of like a regular guy. But we're not in the look like a fighter business. We're in the fighter business. This fight is a fight I think you gotta start to really like rein in on for DraftKings purposes. Just because, minus 155 for this fight to get finished inside the distance. That's one of the better lines on the card, and it's a little bit less known. Sheamus Moraes, on the other hand, was a real standout in the World Series of Fighting.
Yeah, look good, man.
He's got 2 losses now. His last fight, taking on
Zabit
Magomedsharipov, and before that against
Marlon
Moraes. Just like, the guy's been dealt a bad hand in the fights that he's lost. He's super talented, solid Muay Thai fighter. This is a fight that you really want to pay attention to. I'm going to lean Sayles. I was just watching him on Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. I was really impressed by what I saw, but like, if Sheamus Moraes is probably the better athlete. He definitely looks better getting off the bus, as the guys at the Co-Main Event podcast would say. He's jacked, he's super ripped, and he's in tremendous shape. Maybe athleticism wins in this one. So Sayles is the guy I am picking here, but I will definitely have exposure to both guys on DraftKings.
Yeah, again, I got to go Matty Sayles as well. I think you nailed it on the head. He started training with Dominic Cruz at Alliance, and he was like 17 years old. And you look at old promo videos for Alliance back in the day, or like old Dominic Cruz interviews, especially Dominic Cruz old interviews when he's getting ready for big fights. They're like, who are some of the guys that have been helping you get ready? Matt Sayles is like a staple of this guy's camp. Like, he's been around there for a long time. Comes from a kickboxing background. Everybody that trains with him says his striking is legit. So a guy that's been around, he's been on radars for a little while now. So his only pro loss, George Hickman. George Hickman, for those of you who don't know, is a standout American wrestler, is now the head coach, was the wrestling coach at Tiger Muay Thai down in Thailand, is now just the head MMA coach for the program. The guy knows how to wrestle. He beats Matt Sayles on a split decision, very close fight, based just strictly on getting this guy down, trying to out-wrestle him. Sayles, as I mentioned, kickboxing background, phenomenal stand-up fighter, wants to keep the fight standing. It's just a bad matchup, split decision, close fight, all the same. So, everybody kind of knows him from his Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, but he was actually on an episode of Dana White looking for a fight where he fought at CFFC, took on Christian Aguilera. And when you're talking about the whole body type thing, he fights Christian Aguilera at 155 pounds, okay? Basically, his opponent, Aguilera, comes out, he's ripped. Sayles comes out, he looks soft. Dana White's like, this Sayles guy's definitely going to lose. Dean Thomas is like, the fight just starts, and Dean Thomas is looking at this kid, and he goes, no. This kid's gonna win. Dana's like, how do you know? And he's like, I know. This kid's got it. I'm watching it. He's got it. He's gonna win. He toasts this guy in the first round. Knockout. Big counter right. It's like, shit, he's got power. He sees the strikes coming. He moves very well. Very well. Didn't look good physically. 155. That fight on Contender Series is 45. And I thought he looked way better. But again, people are alluding to the fact that, hey, he's not muscle bound, he's not ripped. Here's the thing with fighting. You don't gotta be ripped. You don't gotta be super jacked. It's generally the guys that don't have the buffest physiques, not all, but a lot of guys don't have the buffest physiques. They can just keep going. The muscles aren't sucking that energy. Brazilians, a lot of them are heavy stacked. A lot of them are very muscular. And as a result...
What about TJ? TJ's about as jacked can be.
Yeah, as lean, absolutely. And if you want to put your tinfoil hat on, there's pre-USADA and post-USADA TJ pictures. It's shocking. But then there's post-USADA, he's looking soft, and then there's current, which is still post-USADA, and he's like back to being ripped. So it's like either he's got the world's greatest strength and conditioning coach, or hard work pays off.
Him and Paulo Costa have a guy.
Maybe they got a guy. Paul Shaughnessy's got a guy. A keto guy. All I'm saying. Anyways, with Matt Sayles, if you want to stand up with this guy, I'm just sold on him. I just feel like he's probably dealt with so much in the gym over the years, with Jeremy Stevens' style of throwing bombs in his head, with Cruz's style of being elusive and trying to hit those winging check hooks, with all these different styles that you're seeing on a day-to-day basis. Like, he's combat ready, he's ready to go. The one thing that kills me here is that, like, why would you give him Sheamus Moraes in his UFC debut? Like, why does this guy gotta go out there and fight a tough dude who's a former world title challenger? Like, why? Why do these things happen? But it is what it is. One thing I will admit is that Sheamus Moraes, as big and jacked as he is, he fought Marlon Moraes at 135 pounds. Maybe not the biggest 145er. Zabit, he looked actually pretty decent against Zabit considering fighting Zabit. But again, Zabit's a big 145er, so he's not getting off. His power's not the same. His strength's not the same. His physicality's not the same. But his durability's a lot less, getting hit with the heavier punches. I feel like Sayles will let this guy move forward on him. If you want to have a stand-up battle, and he is a Muay Thai stylist, he'll probably want to have a stand-up battle. It's the punch you don't see coming that knocks you out. And Sayles has got a really cool little counter-attacking style. So when I look at the lines, the minus 125, it might be a little too much too early for him. I fully understand that. Maybe that's why you don't want to load up too heavy. But for minus 125, I'll definitely take a check at that. And the 8,300 on DraftKings, again, I'd like a little bit of a better price, but I'll have him in some lineups. I don't see him knocking out Moraes, who's proven to be very durable. But again, it's the shot you don't see coming, and it's a fight. You know, like anything can happen. I don't care if you haven't knocked out a guy in 5 years. Like, Jose Aldo hadn't finished a guy in 5 years, and he knocks him out in the first round. That shit happens. So, but yeah, no, my pick's definitely going to be Matt Sayles here.
We move on down the card. We've got Alex Perez taking on Jose Shorty Torres. Alex Perez is 8,400 on DraftKings and a minus 145 favorite. Jose Shorty Torres, 7,800 and plus 125. What do we got here?
Well, funny backstory I'll get to really quickly. Jose Torres' UFC debut. I'm sold on this guy. Like, from everything I've seen, not just his Titan FC, 2 weight class world champion Titan, that extensive amateur background, literally getting a contract by the Sheiks to go to Abu Dhabi and train at that KHK team. Man, this guy is something special. And he's at 125. This is better than 2 weight classes. He's going to kill it. I got him on all these parlays. I'd kill at this event. I made like $3,000 in this event. At the end of it, I go back and I look. I should have probably lost like $180. I had Jose Torres almost everywhere. Don't really know why in hindsight, especially in hindsight when you look at the fight unplayed. But like, that's the thing about betting. And that's the thing about betting in MMA especially. The guy should have lost. His opponent knocked himself out with a slam. Who knows what would have happened if he didn't do it. But all the same, he clearly looked like he was on his way to beating Jose Torres. And just like that, everything can change in a minute. And now you come into this fight with Jose Torres, and it's like, well, he's fighting a worse opponent. It's like, why wouldn't you be over the moon sold on him? It's like, well, shit, man. Like, hopefully his opponent KOs himself again, because otherwise it's like, it's a fight, dude. Anything can happen. But I'm going to go Jose Torres here. The things that I'm going to try to give him the benefit of the doubt from the first fight with Jarrett Brooks is that you take the fight with Jarrett Brooks pretty late notice, man. And he's fought at 125. That's his best weight class. He's fought at 135. And he was kind of getting ready to try to pull off this 3 weight class world champion thing with Titan, where he was going to challenge for 145 pounds for Titan FC. That's 3 weight classes, but you're at 145. So you're bulking on muscle. You're trying to get a little bit bigger, and you get this fight off for UFC. That's where you want to be at 125. You got to cut all that weight, short notice, come to the dance. Looked a little flat for sure. He's always been a slow starter, but he's generally got 5 rounds to work with. Only in a 3-round fight here against Jarrett Brooks, he has a slow start, and it don't work out for him, man. He's getting taken down by Brooks. Everyone talks about how good Torres is in the wrestling department. Like, he is getting out-wrestled by Jarrett Brooks. In the second round, looked a little bit better. Looked like he was starting to get going.
Brooks was having, like, the performance of his career.
Brooks is on. And I think with Torres, a lot of the time, it's like, oh, well, he has such an extensive amateur background. He could draw on that on lesser opponents, on these Brazilians that they were feeding into. Like, yeah, he was a big champion in Titan, but like, he had fought some low-level guys. There's like some okay-level guys. Even when he's taken on the Glarstone Santos of the world, like, here's a guy that's, you know, a Brazilian journeyman. He's almost got 10 professional losses at this point. He's got 40 fights. He's been around a long time. But Torres could always draw from the fact that he had all those amateur fights. Brooks had the exact same number. I think he was 22-1 as an amateur. He had that amateur pedigree. And that allowed him to kind of be on a level playing field with Torres. He out-wrestled him. He was beating him and ultimately knocked himself out. Coming into this fight, when you're looking at Alex Perez, the guy's got 24 professional fights, man. He is very seasoned. His last fight with Eric Sheldon, he proved that he's a wrestler. He's a grappler. He wants to take you down. So can he go out there and take down Torres and put it on him? There's a possibility, but I got to go back to now Torres having an actual camp, having a proper weight cut. His wrestling should be good enough to hopefully just keep the fight standing, and he's a way better striker than Perez is. He's just faster. He's a better boxer. He's got that
trusting
pinpoint
the things
accuracy.
that you saw on tape, the first, like, as they were leading into their debut, rather than what you saw in the debut. Because let's call a spade a spade. He got lucky. against Brooks. I've seen some people be like, well, he actually adjusted himself in the air. Just like, get that shit out of here. That's not what
It was an epic slam.
happened.
It was an epic slam.
It was an epic
Unfortunately, he
slam.
slammed himself in the head. Like, it was crazy.
He knocked himself? That was actually funny, him on Twitter. I would have won if I didn't knock myself out. It's just like, well, yeah, but you did.
Yeah, I seen way back on The Ultimate Fighter, it's Frank Lester, who's a coach at Jackson Winklejohn now, and it's the fight to get into the house. And same thing, the opponent picks him up, slams himself, KOs himself, Lester wins, and then the guy's on the stool, and like Lester's celebrating, and the guy looks up and he goes like, I beat myself, man. And Lester's like, yeah, whatever, buddy, I won. There's only a winner and a loser. That's it. 100%. Who cares how you lost? There's a winner and there's a loser. It's just the way it is. And Torres got the win.
I'm interested to last little thing to see if Perez makes weight, though. He's struggled to make the 125-pound weight class, and that seems to be an issue for him. He's pretty big for the weight class, so maybe this is the type of one. Wait until I always like with my DraftKings lineups anyway to kind of wait until I see who makes weight, who doesn't, who looks good on the scale. Like you can reserve your lineups and stuff long in advance. Same with making bets and stuff too. Is that a lot of these lines are probably going to stay. If you really think the line movement's going to move hard, then great. But you probably will lose a couple points on it. I think this will probably get closer to a pick'em by the time that we get to fight time.
See,
so
there's,
plus
there's
125 right now is okay.
See, there's the thing for me is I got Torres, I want Torres, and plus 125 is as good as I think it's going to get. I think if anything, he's going to go closer to even money.
Yeah.
And I think more people, but
on DraftKings, you can reserve your entries. You don't have to actually put your lineups in yet. So
it doesn't physically.
That's one that I would wait. I would just wait to see what the weigh-ins are because we know what happens with these guys that miss weight.
Well, listen, if Perez misses weight and is the bigger man against Torres, and Torres is going to be the faster guy who has the comfortable weight cut, then as far as styles goes, Perez is going to want to take Shorty Rock down, and if he's got the extra little bit of weight and he can get a hold of him and the speed's not killer, then isn't that a path to victory for him? But I got to just say that Torres keeps his fight standing, and when it is standing, that little bit of extra the weight disadvantage. No, the weight disadvantage is going to allow him to be the faster man in and out of the pocket, pick away at this guy, get the victory, and send Alex Perez packing. But Perez's last fight with Eric Sheldon, right? He looked good there. But Sheldon basically didn't even attempt to defend the takedowns. Like, he was a fish out of water. When he was on the ground, that was it. Torres could get taken down, but he will get back up. That's my guarantee for you.
All right, moving on down the card, we've got Ricardo Ramos taking on Kyung-Ho Kang. Ramos, 8,600 on DraftKings, minus 220 favorite. Kang is 7,600 and plus 180. I've been pretty high on Ramos from the time that he made his debut. What we have seen from this guy is that I think he's developing now, but like on the regional scene and all of his early fights, just a super, super high pace, intense type of style that he has, which is like perfect DraftKings kind of player. He's really aggressive and sometimes some would say over-aggressive with his strikes. His grappling is very, very tenacious. He's always looking for the finish. I like him. I'll be playing him here. Kang is kind of one of those apple pie shitters, though, historically. He's the kind of guy that if you fade him, you underestimate him. His 13-7 record doesn't look all that impressive, but like the guy's pretty credible. He's got some good wins,
dude.
And he's super strong. So I like Ramos. He's got such a long frame for this division. I think he's only getting better. He's still super young, and he's super talented. You can see it. Win over Aben Zahabi. Pretty impressive.
He was. I'm gonna debate that one.
He was doing well. I thought he was doing well in that fight. I thought he was winning, and then he got the spinning back fist, or the spinning back elbow.
Fair enough.
He did what he got to do.
See what he's got to do.
Do what he got to do. Kang coming off of a first round finish of Guido Canetti, who I've been mean to in the past, saying you can't spell you can't spell Canetti without can, and then he did pretty well in his last time out there. But
I think that really goes to show you the level of Peruvian MMA. No, it wasn't Peru. It was Usman headlining against Mayo. Chile. Chilean MMA.
It was Diego Rivas is playing, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
he's fighting.
He was the only Chilean guy in the card, so they put him on the main card, and he got busted up by Canetti.
It's true. I like Ramos. I'll have a bunch of him on DraftKings. 220 is a bit wide for my liking, though. I think I don't really want to fade Kang from a betting perspective myself.
Yeah, Kang is very appealing because, again, when I'm looking at a card, they're like, well, who are the dogs that I do like? And they're all like plus 220, plus 180 in this case for Kang. It's like, okay, definitely worth a look. For Kang, definitely worth a look at the plus 180. So I feel like I'm gonna have some shares on Kang. My thing with Ricardo Ramos is, we talked last week about Caitlin Chukagi being a poor version of Holly Holm, and maybe a Kevin Holland being like a poor version of Israel Adesanya. Ricardo Ramos is a poor version of Charles Oliveira. It's just what he is. He's super aggressive with his striking. He's super aggressive with his grappling. He's got that tall, skinny man frame that's like built to be aggressive and put punishment on guys. Like if he gets a hold of your neck, he's gonna nasty guillotine choke on him. He's black belt, and one of those guys that attacks, relentlessly off his back. And as far as standing goes, he doesn't move his head. He kind of moves on a straight line. It's a traditional Muay Thai style, and he loves to spin with shit. The thing with the Zahabi fight is that, he looks good in his debut. He gets the victory. And prior to that, he had shit the bed once on a Dana White looking for a fight where they kind of came to scout him out, and, doesn't get the win. No big deal. They end up signing the opponent. Now we see him in the UFC against Ayman Zahabi. He wins the first round against Ayman Zahabi, 100%, and he looked good. Grappling looks on cue. If he takes you down, and his takedowns didn't look that bad, when you try to get up, and a lot of guys get eager and they just try to explode back up and they give their back up for that split second, he'll take your back. He's very opportunistic. He's things that make you worry that even if you're doing good in the round, one back take and you ride the guy's back for 2 minutes is going to seal the round for you. I am worried when I do watch this guy fight. But the second round against Ayman Zahabi, he doesn't look that good, man. Like, he's telegraphing those spins. He's getting hit. He loses the second round against Ayman Zahabi. In the third round, like, surely this is Ayman Zahabi's fight to win. I'm thinking to myself. And he throws that spinning shit, and Zahabi sees it a mile away and steps back. Zahabi hurts him. He rushes in to finish him. Not finish him, but to put on some more punishment, because Zahabi's power punching, at least at this level, looks a little off, man. Anyways, tries to rush in and score some extra points on him, and essentially runs himself into the spinning back elbow that knocks him out. On paper, a win over Faraz's little brother is super impressive, but this guy's still young, and he's still green, and he's still improving. And like Charles Oliveira, he'll either look phenomenal and smoke some guy out of the water, or it'll be like, shit, yeah, okay, there are some holes in his game that are there to be exploited. With Kyung Ho Kang, this guy was beastly, so strong. I believe he's a judo black belt, but he is just really strong. His fight with Michinori Tanaka was all over the place. And it really showed you, like, this guy can overpower guys. He can get the takedowns at will. He doesn't really put himself into submissions very often. He's exciting. Then he did 2 years of military service, mandatory in Korea. We didn't see him. He comes back against Canetti. People were betting Guido Canetti, which I found shocking, but the rhetoric there is this guy hasn't fought in 2 years. What's he been doing in the military? But similar to Korean Zombie, clearly training in the military. Look good, look strong. So in horse racing, we always say your sophomore effort, you always look better than that debut after the layoff. The second fight, you're going to show a little bit more. I think Kang, still a young enough guy, is a very strong guy. He goes out there in this fight with Ramos. I feel like even though Ramos is a little more unpredictable standing, Kang's a little bit of a better striker and packs some pretty solid power in that right hand. But I think he'll probably actually play with fire and take down Ramos and just control him on the ground. Ramos will throw up arm bars. Ramos will throw up triangles. Ramos will try to get back up to his feet and create some space. But Kang is strong. He's super top heavy. And I feel like that could be a play here. You can laugh at it, but like, you look back, and this is not the same fight as Bartosz Fabinski. But again, Bartosz is a guy that sticks to the game plan real good, which is take you down and smother you down. Kang could do that. He is way stronger than Ramos, and I think he can keep himself out of submissions.
He could be in danger from the submissions down there.
If he sticks his neck into a submission, then it's impossible. My biggest concern is the guy's got a terrible fucking gas tank. Like, he tends to gas out, and this young kid, Ramos, who loves to go for the finish, could end up just catching him late and finishing him. But dog money plus 180. I'm going to go with the gut. I'm going to say that he wins at least 2 of the rounds and survives, and he either might take a greasy split decision, but I need at least 3 good dogs in this card, so, give me Mr. Perfect Kang to get the victory and be number 3 for me.
Well, thank God we actually disagreed on something.
Yeah, but hey, it had to happen.
I like Ramos, you got Kang. Let's move on. We got Weili Zhang taking on Danielle Taylor. 8,700 for Zhang, minus 250 favorite. 7,500 plus 210. We're talking last week about Tisha Torres, and Tisha Torres being on the committee for DraftKings Cancer. President of the DraftKings Cancer Committee is Danielle Taylor. I think she averages like 30. Usually we would look at the board right now and know exactly, but it's like 36 points or something. She's 2-2 in the UFC. She averages 36 points per fight. Her style is back up, pot shot, stall the action, do nothing. She's very, very quick. She's very, very elusive. So like never Taylor. Never roster.
Never
Danielle Taylor.
Never Taylor.
Never. Watch some tape on Zhang. I was impressed by what she's able to do. Question is the level of competition that she's facing, which is like it's pretty mediocre. She looks fast enough. Sure, she's got some vicious ground and pound when she gets to the ground. I thought she looked like a very, very serviceable fighter. But the problem is, and like her path to victory would probably be get this fight to the canvas, and when you get it down there, smash away. She's got some good guard passes and stuff while she gets down there as well. She looks pretty legitimate all around, but the problem is your opponent. And your opponent likes to back up and do nothing. But we said this last week about Cage and Johnson. And you know what? It almost came true until about the 3:30 mark. Cage and Johnson was staying at range, staying at the distance. He was doing what he had to do, and I was just like, I was almost already giving myself the pat on the back.
He tried, but Islam was like, no.
I ended up doing well last week.
The boys from Dogger Pass said you were going to do this. Cut off angle takedown. I was like, no, Islam.
And once he got to the ground, he dominated from down there as well. So I feel it's kind of similar, but I will have some shares of Weili Zhang because that is the path to victory, and when she gets down there, and she's not 9,600, which is what Makhachev is. She's 8,600. You're saving $1,000 off of, or 87,100. You're saving quite a bit. You can fit that into a roster a lot easier than 9,600. I had Makhachev last year. I just had more Dawadu. I did well, but I didn't do great.
I hear you.
So yeah, I'll have Zhang. Never Taylor. Never, ever Taylor. And I stand by that. I'll stand by that forever.
Yeah, no, I think Dynamite Danielle Taylor, don't know who gave her that nickname because so far she hasn't really shown. Actually, you know what? Like when she was fighting King of the Cage, yeah, the girl actually cracked. But at 5 feet tall and like a tiny little reach on her, yeah, she can generate a lot of power from standing right in front of you, but not from moving backwards. And that's what she has to do. Like, you look at it from her very first fight against Marina Moraes. Marina Moraes ain't even that tall. She's got a serviceable jab and has a little more range than her, and she can't even come anywhere near her. And that's the thing with her, man. She does a whole lot of moving in the pocket and whiffing on big overhand shots that just don't come anywhere hitting their target, but it's not enough to physically score points, right? Even if the significant strikes were the same, there's a whole lot of her missing shots and a whole lot of her opponents chasing her back. So if she lands 10 punches on you and she's running away the whole time and missing on 40 of them, and you just walk her down and also just land 10 punches on 20 attempts, you're gonna get the round.
Then you have Taylor versus Moraes, where both fighters scored like 17 strikes each in a 3-round fight.
Absolutely nothing happens, man. It's extremely frustrating to watch. But that's Taylor, dude. That's not just the fight with Marina Moraes. That's every fight she's had. Yep. And dude, if you give her someone like Jessica Penne, who's also a 105-pounder, at least should be a 105-pounder.
In fairness, Taylor probably should be 105.
That's what I mean. She's going to do a lot better against someone who's probably her actual weight class. And with Penne is not fast enough to move out of the pocket. So you could hit Jessica Penne. You can't hit someone who's ranger and knows how to use that range. So when I look at Zhang's one of those people that, because she's coming into the UFC with a 16-1 record, 16-fight winning streak, lost her debut, has gone 16 straight. It's always like, oh, is this a manufactured job? Like, has this been built up so that they could get her to the UFC? But you look at her record and, dude, ain't that bad. I think she comes from a stand-up background. She's been standing for a very long time. She's a very strong girl. She's aggressive. She loves that kill. She goes in for the finish. Yep. If she wasn't fighting Danielle Taylor, if she was just fighting another mediocre opponent,
exactly.
I'd be on her for the points,
because
man.
you'd see some action, but the problem is Taylor sucks the life out of every fight that she is in.
Taylor will just backpedal out of there, and she's so short. It's like, you really got to pin her up, and if you pin her up, then that's when she's most dangerous, because she'll just come out swinging at least. But with Zhang, it's like, it's difficult. But one thing I want to touch on is that You know, you mentioned the fact that, well, Zhang, who has really fought? You know, it's like 16-1 record, but it's very hollow. And like Danielle Taylor's definitely a big step up in competition. Just off the top of my head, and that names that I recognize, she fought Emi Fujino, who's a 25-fight veteran, been around, fought a lot of top girls, and you know, she takes her out in the second round. Carla Benitez, same thing, 23-fight veteran, been around a long time, fought a lot of tough girls, knocks her out in the very first round, and she fought Brazilian Aline Settlemaker. That one went 3 rounds, but at least she showed she can go 3 rounds if need be. She knocks you out, great. If not, get the 15 minutes in. But she's the better striker, she's the longer striker, she's the more active striker, and only the third one really matters here. Just be the more active striker. Just land a little bit more in this girl, and you will get the victory. She's got a
vicious top game if she does manage to get the fight to the canvas.
Yeah, as just we always talk about like shorter fighters and how it's hard to take them down. Like Danielle Taylor embodies that because
100%.
she's moving backwards and she's what are you gonna do?
She's fast and athletic. Maybe you get her down, but like she's gonna be squirrely. She's gonna get
even if you take her down, she's looking to pop back up on a hip and get the fuck out of there. So no, I think that the top game, even though it does favor her, don't think being an issue here. I just think that she's gonna outpoint her over the course of 15 with the striking. Not gonna score enough for me to go for the 8,700. But as far as the 250 goes, I could see where it's value. So I'm gonna have her.
Yeah, and the inside the distance prop would agree with you here. It's fight doesn't go the distance is plus 160. So it's
that would be
like heavily
hilarious.
saying that this is probably a decision.
Danielle Taylor's had 4 fights in the UFC, none of which have been by finish. So like you're gonna bet it that this is the first time? Like
this type of opponent, this opponent could be the type of one.
I don't know. Like
it's possible.
Taylor's fought some okay fighters.
I agree. But
I
like
agree.
none of them have been as like Zhang is super aggressive.
Yeah.
That's why I'm on the fence about how much to have of Zhang.
I've watched a lot of female kickboxing, and it is the creme de la creme. Like, these girls are vicious, and it's high level. I think a lot of the time when we think about Chinese fighters, not to discredit them, the ones that have gone to alpha male seemingly have done pretty good. But we always look at it like low level. Well, this is a low level fight in a low level division with a girl who is fighting the type of fight that she specifically actually is pretty good at. So, gotta go with Zhang.
And all you really need to know is no Taylor. #never Taylor.
Yeah. You know what? It all makes sense now. Whoever named her Dynamite Danielle Taylor bet money on her and was like, betting on this bitch is like holding onto a stick of dynamite and waiting for it to blow up in your motherfucking face. So avoid that.
Marlon Vera takes on Wujili Buren. Marlon Vera is 9,300 on DraftKings, minus 475 favorite. Buren is 6,900 and plus 380. Buren was supposed to take on Kandari, Baharat Kandari, and that fight got bounced, or Kandari had to pull out. That was a much more winnable fight for Mr. Buren.
2 low-level wrestlers, and he probably have the wrestling advantage over Kandori. Yeah,
and then now
I would have picked him.
his replacement opponent comes in and is a 5-1 favorite. Problem is $9,300. When you get up to that range here on DraftKings, I'm just paying up for DJ in that spot. If you're going to go all the way up there, like, I just can't see a situation where I would take Marlon Vera over Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, just based on the types of fights that they have. Of course, DJ has a much more credible opponent, but Vera has not been a potent finisher throughout his career. This is probably one of the easiest matchups that he's had. I guess he got the submission against
Brian Kelleher.
Brian Kelleher. That was a big one. That was a very big, shocking one.
That's a big submission.
And then the Brad Pickett round 3 finish,
which he was losing, so it's hard to say. Great.
Exactly.
Beating Pickett means way more than anything this guy's ever done.
Of course, I agree.
But he didn't actually look good against
It's
Pickett.
hard to justify paying up for Vera when Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, one of the best
you can
overall
justify
DraftKings players of all time, with ownership, because like nobody's gonna own Vera.
Ownership and $100 cheaper, and Demetrius Johnson is fighting the number 2 guy in the world, and Chito Vera is fighting the number 2002 guy in the world. Like, slow down there, man. The extra 2 rounds of DJ, I get it, but the low ownership makes it very, very tasty.
Not much.
Is it appealing?
I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
I'm not touching this fight from a betting perspective. I'm not touching on DraftKings. It's a full fade. Just if it happens to be the fight that kills me in the end, so be it. But I'm going in other paths. I don't really have much. I don't have much faith in Buren, and I don't really want to pay all that much up. So I know it's kind of a real Real shitty way to more or less end the show. Maybe you got a hot take on this one.
Yeah, well, I just think that it's set up for Buren to probably lose here. I mean, it's a terrible situation. You go from taking on Kandori, which is so winnable and very much tailored to your style and to your level, to taking on Marlon Vera, who is 2 fights removed from fighting John Lineker to a 3-round decision and hardly getting touched up by John Lineker over the course of 15 minutes. So knocking him out, well, that's kind of off the table. His last 2 opponents, who have both been far superior than Buren, have not even come close. That's off the table. The guy's a wrestler. He's a Chinese wrestler. That's his base. That's how he got into MMA. He wrestles. Not a very high-end wrestler. Was never on an, normally countries I've been, an all-European team. It's not like he was on an all-Asian team. It's not like he ever went to any Pan-American games. He never, I guess I shouldn't say Pan-American, but never to any type of level that'd be significant. He finished 3rd in what he says is like a decent-sized tournament in China. But again, Kandori was a local Indian wrestler who had wrestled in the mud. It was a mud style of wrestling. This is a traditional Chinese style of wrestling. It is not comparable to Division I NCAA. It is not comparable to junior college in the United States. So that's really his only trick here, is to maybe take Chito Vera down. And whereas that's actually plausible, is take Chito Vera down and hold him down. Vera's good off his back, man, and that's why he's playing with fire both ranges here. If the fight stays standing, he's going to get his head kicked off. Vera's actually pretty good with the kicks, spent a lot of time developing that, is elusive enough standing, that he's just a better striker than Buren. He's going to beat him standing. If Buren tries to take him to the ground, he's going to get submitted. And if Chito Vera ends up on top, he's going to get submitted. So likely at some point within the course of these 3 rounds, he's going to get submitted. And this sucks if you're Buren, because let me tell you a little something about Alex Ricci out of Woodbridge, Ontario, Canada's own. This guy spent a lot of time wanting to get to the UFC, got to the UFC, shit didn't go his way. He had a fight booked with Alvaro Herrera, okay? It's going to take place in Halifax, which is in Canada, not his backyard, but it's a local Canadian fight against Alvaro Herrera. Here you go. Herrera gets hurt and gets pulled out. His replacement was Paul Felder, who then went to go on to knock out Alex Ricci in 3 minutes into the first round. Not exactly a comparable substitute when you're going from Herrera to Paul Felder. That's what's happening here. Kandori was, I can't get you to say it, but I will say it, the worst
fighter in the UFC?
He's the worst fighter in the UFC. He was going to lose his fight to Buren. He didn't get replaced by the second worst fighter in the UFC. He got a guy that if there was a top 25 would be hanging around that end of the top 25. He's infinitely better.
Of course.
And so he's got to go out there and get the win. And again, I love saying this, but my last point on it.
Styles make fights?
No,
Greasy theory?
No, for a long time, just my last point on it. That's why I always say it wasn't my last point on this fight. But my last point on this fight is that for a long time, Chito Vera has been a Jackson Winklejohn guy. He's only 25 years old right now. So even though we look at those hardships that he's had earlier on in his career, losing to Davey Grant, shit like that, that's not overly impressive. He's always going to be getting a little bit better because he's young, he's training at a high level. But he's left Jackson Winklejohn. He's gone. He took this fight on short notice, sure, but he's done the entire camp at that former Reign Training Center with specifically TJ Dillashaw and Cub Swanson. Both guys are on this card. Apparently he's in great shape. He's ready to go. And he's taking on Buren. Not that, you would need those guys to get ready for this type of opponent. But barring that he shits in the apple pie, which is always a small possibility, especially with a guy like Vera, this has got to be his fight to win.
Yeah.
And he'll be way less owned than DJ.
But is he going to outscore DJ?
He's $100 cheaper than DJ. And if Henry Cejudo and DJ are just in a lackluster striking battle for 25 minutes, then maybe that first or second round finish for Marlon Vera could make it worth your while.
Maybe.
But the more so would be the lower ownership that would help you more than anything else. But
if you're playing 100 lineups, you get your exposure. If you're playing one, I don't think you play Marlon Vera.
Your personal feeling, just your personal, don't even have to explain it, just quick answer, right? If Demetrius Johnson fought Henry Cejudo 100 times, how many would Cejudo win in 100 times? You can't say 0. 10. If Marlon Vera fought Buren 100 times.
Maybe 20.
Is Buren, so at least Vera's safer pick, at least certainly should be a safer pick with a potential high ceiling and low base.
I'm not sure. Based on both of what I don't know.
He submitted Brian Kelleher in the first round, less than 3 minutes. Brian Kelleher is a black belt. Buren is probably still trying to figure out what a ground game is outside of wrestling. But wrestlers shoot themselves into submissions. So And we'll see what happens.
You got to
Saturday,
roll here
right?
soon, right? So
Yeah, no, we're done.
I
I'm
guess
saying.
we wrap it up. Usually we have a little, well, not even usually. Sometimes we'll have a little thing at the end here. Nothing else really to talk about, except for, I guess, the Colby Covington getting stripped thing was something. But
To be honest,
if you want to talk about that, we can. Otherwise, we can save it for next week's episode.
We're actually shooting early on a Tuesday, and most of my research has gone into the Contender Series.
Of course,
yeah, so can't give a plays because by the time this really hits the air, we're screwed anyways. But I got to do a little more research on these sites, so I'm pretty content with what I've given out. And if anything changes, I'll definitely let the people know because got to take care of the fans, man. They've been good to us. We got to be good to them.
So remember, in the comment section on YouTube here, right, who you think is going to be the highest score on the card. Pat Mayo will go through and find out and pick winners. And in terms of the iTunes contest, go on there, give a nice 5-star review. Say something nice about us. If you say something mean, you're not winning the damn contest, okay? So
Are we buying love? That just feels so dirty.
yes, that's 100% what we're doing is buying love. Thank you to Cody Saftic, as always, for breaking down all of the fights with me. In terms of the production here, I'd like to thank absolutely nobody because I did the whole thing myself. So yeah, that wraps it up for us. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the fights this weekend. For Cody Saftic, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.
Fat Mayo Experience! Experience!